All right. Hello, class. And here we are, another Monday, and we are ready to roll. We are in week 7, so the number of classes are getting down there. So just a couple more weeks after this, and we will be finished with the course. So, couple of things we need to address, and that is completing assignments. Uh, when assignments aren't completed, those extensions have to be put in one by one for each student. So that is definitely becoming an issue with students not completing assignments, just letting them go. So that's creating a lot more work. So those extensions are going to become a little more difficult to get it because it's definitely something that's not being done on time. So those extension times, it does take time to put them in, so it's going to take a little bit longer to get them in. That's going to make your window for completing those extensions a little bit less. So, they definitely need to be taken care of. The other thing is assignments that aren't completed on time, they're subject to have points taken off for every day that they are not completed. That's something that's going to be looked at as well. Um, you're going to have times at work where assignments are going to be due or work's going to have to be completed. You're going to have deadlines for shifts, etc. And if you don't meet those deadlines, unfortunately, they're going to find people who will. So it's imperative that you realize that when things need to be completed, they will need to be completed. Now, I know everyone has extremely busy schedules and that, but an online course is a course just the same. And unfortunately, this is starting to become an issue in this course that assignments are strictly and completely not being completed, and you have a full week to complete a rather light load in this course. So this is going to be changed here. So assignments that are not complete on time, they're going to start losing points, and the other one is it's going to take a little bit longer to get those extensions completed as far as in on this side here, because it does take time to go in and add an extension for each student when you request them. And again, these are not blanket extensions that go for the entire class. Everybody does have to request their own because they have to be put in per assignment per student. So it does take time. And I hate to start off a class with that, but it has become um, an extreme situation here. Okay. Especially this last weekend. It has become a very large situation this past weekend across the board. So, unfortunately, it has to be stopped. Okay, that being said, we're going to move on into week 7, and we are going to get to getting with some screen share. And here we go. So, um, reminder, every week, Wednesday, your first post in that discussion is due. Anything that's posted after that, it's going to start losing points on that first post. And then you have through the rest of the week to get those remaining 2 posts. Reminder, discussions are never up for extensions due to the nature of those assignments. All right, so let's take a look from the viewpoint of you all. Okay. Reminder, read those emails. You're never sure when you're going to see those bonus point opportunities. On the midterm, 3 people read the emails for the bonus points and took advantage of that. Everybody else kind of didn't see those or didn't want to participate, missed out on those. Um, take the time. Emails that come out on the job, things that you may miss out on. You may miss out on bonus opportunities for paychecks. You may miss out on free CEs. You may miss out on promotion opportunities, things like that. Things that come from your employers that do have values. Um, So please take time to read those. You never know what's going to be in there. It could save you time, may tell you to skip an assignment, etc. They are important. So learn how to navigate and manipulate your time schedules. Okay. Don't assume things that are not important and just ignore them or don't check them. There's also the possibility of employment opportunities that if you're not checking your emails or organizing your email, that you could be missing employment opportunities as well. So learn how to take control over your social and your email situations going forward, just in general, because there could be things you're missing out on that are important. Now, if your inbox is being flooded by a bunch of things, learn how to organize that, learn how to get rid of spam, things like that as well. So that's going to be critical, especially when you are out there searching for employment. All right. Okay, so make sure you're checking your grades, going in here, clicking on that, seeing where you are, your score. Notice your participation is 25% in this course, assignments 30. That participation, that's coming from your discussions. If you're not hitting those three responses in there and you're getting, one response in there, you're throwing away 80%. Make sure you're getting those points that you deserve, okay? Those quizzes are 20% of your overall score. Your assignments, 30%. Make sure you're getting those chapters in there. That's the biggest part of your class in here. It's making sure you're getting those in there. All right. So let's jump down to our modules. We are way down here, and we are in chapter 7 this week. Okay. And so you have under active reading here, when you look under here, it tells you what topics we're going to go over, the reading that is in there. Now, this reading also falls in line under the deliverables with that assignment. When you're going through that assignment, it asks you if you need to take a look at the topics in that. Those topics that are in this assignment are what's up here in the reading. So if you don't read it ahead of time, you get it in the assignment. It's not double the work. It's one or the other as to where you actually take a look at it. So again, you're only having to do that part one time. You either do it there or there. And then you have that finish out that. And the more prepared you are from doing that reading and using those techniques we learned. Um, did I click on the wrong one? Hold on one second. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Let me go back here. That's all chapter 7. I meant week 7 here. Same thing. When you're going through here and you're going back and forth, remember the topics that we discussed earlier on ways that you can use different techniques for remembering the information, using the location, using the repeating of the information, stuff like that, those short study periods as opposed to long study periods, and all those different techniques that will help you out because the more you retain from these chapters, the quicker this assignment goes for you. All right? Because the more you get right in succession, the shorter that session goes. And then you have the quiz, okay? And now you should also be reviewing the live session on the recording. So hopefully you are, and those discussions, okay? Now, I always put a little blurb in here. It says, this week, focus on your ability to communicate and think effectively. Okay, so this is not only valuable in the learning environment, but in the workplace, okay? Writing, research, and problem solving, okay? So problem solving can be big and it can be small, okay? Little things like, how do I take care of this and this? And so you do so many of these things on automatic and you don't see that as a skill set, and it really is a skill set. And so that organization and that what we refer to as multitasking really is something that will set you apart. Some people they go, oh, they're slow. They don't do this and that. No, they're just not organized. And the more you organize and your ability to handle multiple things, not necessarily multitasking, handling multiple things, being able to do things and keep them organized will set you above other people and their abilities. Okay, so now we're down here and we're going to be doing that here in week 7. And so you have that, and that's what those chapters are. Okay, now the discussion here this week, I call it these are really good. So I want you to think why critical thinking is important in academic and real world settings. Key part here, provide an example of a situation where strong research and problem solving skills are necessary. I want you to think about that. Do you need to provide an example? Okay. So that's what I'm going to be looking for when you're doing this. Give an example, strong research and problem solving. Okay, now research, what that means is you have to look into something, not necessarily in a book, but where someone comes up and says, hey, this is what's going on. Can you tell me blah, blah, blah? Okay. Now that research can be checking on a billing error. That research can be checking to see what's going on with the doctor. That research is not necessarily book research. It's checking into a situation or troubleshooting in those type of terms. So research does not always mean looking things up in a technical manner as far as in that type of situation. So always think along the real world situations and how things would happen on the job. Don't forget your first post and then responding to 2 other people. Okay. Use your real words, your thoughts, how you think about things. Okay. And that's how you do those parts there. Okay. So when we look at that, that's what we're talking about. And then that chapter and that quiz in here. And then looking ahead, we have next week is week 8, one more week after that, and then we prepare for the final. So we need to stay caught up. We need to stay focused and think about where we are headed. These different components that we've been going over will help you in those other classes. Take this very serious. These are skills that will help you in those other things. Online classes are just as equally graded and scored and impactful in your career. These different things, if you're listening to where they're headed, they will help lift you up and elevate those other courses. All right. So enough of that part there. We're going to head on into today's class. And expressive power and critical intellect, okay, is the title of it. And we're going to go ahead and start this. Here we go. I'm going to swap my displays out here. Get a little pencil out. And we're going to go back to red here. Actually, I want to choose this darker red. Draw my little smiley face here, and away we go. Okay. High impact communication. So it's not just communication, high impact. Okay. Writing systems, verbal presentation. Okay. So it's a 5-step writing process, and this takes place no matter what you're writing. So you need to prepare. Okay. That's where you gather all your information. You think about this is what I'm going to kind of write about. Think about your theme. No matter what it is you're writing, even if it's instructions, what is it I need to write down? What are those instructions? And that's when you start that critical thinking. What is it I need to actually tell? So critical thinking is that you're focusing in, okay? Now, organize. I need to do step 1, step 2, step 3, okay? Now you start to write it. Now, sometimes it's easy enough or simple enough that you can write it all down one. Boom, 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 boom. But I suggest you read it and check that grammar, check to make sure it makes sense so that if you're the person who's coming through and has to pay attention to these things, you know what's going on with it. You know how to follow this. If you're reading this for the first time, it makes sense, okay? Make sure your information's correct. Now, a lot of people want to use AI to write their stuff, but they forget to be what we call the person in the middle, and they just let it go. AI makes mistakes and it makes things up. You need to verify those citations against guidelines, make sure that you have backups, and make sure you finalize that piece. Okay? Before you send it out, make sure you have backups and everything, and make sure it is correct. Okay? Now, when you're trying to gather all your data about, you need to research and you need to outline, okay? And there's different ways to do this, okay? You can put down the author's name, the publications, details, and quotes. When you're using that, you don't just write down everything that author says. That's plagiarism. But you can put down some pieces, and your paper or whatever you're writing should not be one quote after another, after another, after another. Okay? It's like putting seasoning on something. You can put one here or one there. Okay? And then there's something that we call synthesized relevance. Okay? Summarize the logic in your own words. Okay? Don't just cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. Now, what I like to do is I like to create a document in Word and I will cut and paste into that. Then I create another document and I read all the things I cut and paste and I rewrite things in my own words, combining things from different stuff. Okay. So I kind of take scraps of information and rewrite it. Okay. Now, anything you do this, a credibility checklist. Okay. There's a lot of information out there, but that doesn't mean it's credible. Okay. That does not mean it's credible. What you're going to find is you're going to find you have source A here. And you're going to go, well, I wonder if source A is good. And they're going to reference source B. So it's going to go here. And source B references source C. And it's like, well, is source C good? And source C references source A. So it's going to go boom, boom, boom. Well, that's not credible. When they're just referencing each other, that's not credible. What you want is A references B, and B has done this research. They can back it up. This has become far more common. You'll notice that they just reference each other in a little loop and they pass it off as facts. Okay? So check your data, check the numbers, check to make sure that they're real. Okay? Now, a good way to do it is the writing pyramid. Okay? So this is what pulls people in. This is what you're trying to get people to go. This is my story. Boom. And then you give them the facts. And this is the conclusion. So you start facts and the ending, boom. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's a big or small paper or whatever. Even if you're writing procedures, you need to know this. This is all the steps. Here's the conclusion. It's still hook, supporting points, resolution. So these techniques work for everything. Now, there's a good way and a bad way to be effective. Clear. Make sure you use proper words. Make sure they're complete sentences. Spelling, everything. It's got to be clear. Make sure you're telling it precise, okay? Avoid filler. Don't put a bunch of words in there that aren't necessary. That's why when you respond to assignments, I want you to put in just the words that are needed. I don't like to use word counts because you're going to use a bunch of fillers to hit those word counts. Make it concise. Concrete. What that means is concrete is strong. Make sure it's facts and don't use vague words. Some, okay? Some people say this. Okay, who are those people? Where are those people? How many people? 100 people in a survey from age such to such indicated this. Okay, that's telling me a little bit more. Okay, correct. Proper grammar, spelling, etc. Don't use slang. Don't use your typing like you're in a phone conversation, like you're texting people. It is important. You're not going to convince the world to change to texting, okay? Uppercase, lowercase. It's not the same. You have to use correct punctuation. You have to use capitalization, lowercase. If you have difficulty knowing what to use, I suggest using Grammarly. Okay? Get Grammarly. It will help you out. And you can get it on a phone, a tablet, a computer. It will help you out. Okay? Make sure it's coherent. That means the logic flows. You're not telling people to do step 5 and then say, oh, go back and do step 3. Make sure it flows and it's complete. Don't, oh yeah, I forgot to mention. No, it's got to be complete. Okay? And this is a strange one, you might think. Consider it. Okay? Think about your audience. If your audience cannot relate to what you're writing, we used to say, don't write over somebody's head. Okay? If they're not technical people, don't write it in a technical way. Write it in a way that the person can understand what you're saying. So they need to be able to be on the same level as whatever you're writing, especially if it's going to be instructions. Okay? Now, when you're looking at information online, you need to be able to identify where they're getting that information. The person who wrote it, who are they? What gave them the ability to come up with this information? Where do they work? How did they come up with it? If you can't identify them, don't use the information. Look at their statistics. Make sure that they are referring to real facts. Okay. Look for generalizations. If they can't cite actual real information, real studies that you can find the real data on, don't use it. And this, when was that done? Right now, because of the way people are trying to steer you one direction or the other, especially with medical data right now, When was this study done? Because people are pulling information out and say, oh, well, this and this and this. And then you find out that study was done 15 years ago. Well, that technology and that information is no longer valid. All right. Now, speaking in public can be frightening to people. Okay. So when you are speaking with people and you're talking to people out and you're out there and you're feel vulnerable, ask direct questions. Make sure you know what you need to do, what the requirements are going to be. And when you're speaking with people, you want to maintain eye contact. And one of the best ways to do that is right here in the forehead, right above the eyes. Look them right there. You cannot determine that the person's not looking you directly in the eyes. It'll make it a little bit easier for you. And so by scanning the audience, looking right there, it gives the impression you're looking them directly in the eyes. It's a little bit more comfortable for you. Okay. Your slide should be simple, not overly complicated, bright, easy to read, and make sure that you're not just reading the slides. Okay. Your audience can read them. That visual is to keep them engaged, not just there for you to read them. They're up there so you can look at them and then add to it. Okay. Anxiety. Everybody gets anxiety. No matter how calm we all are, you get anxiety. Okay. So learn how to breathe. That may sound very strange, but learn how to breathe. Don't hyperventilate. Relax yourself. Okay. Know that you can do this. Mistakes can happen, they happen to everybody. If you know your information, you will be comfortable. Okay. No one expects everything to be perfect. Things can and will go wrong eventually, but the more prepared you are, the better you are about it. Okay. So learn how to pick up on those clues. Now, let's talk about some critical thinking. Okay. So there are things that are definite. Deductive reasoning. Okay, deductive reasoning is when you're looking at the facts and rules to create guaranteed conclusions. So deductive reasoning, you're looking at the facts in the situation. This is what private investigators and things like that look at. They look at everything in the situation and they start working their way through those facts to come to a conclusion. Okay. So then there's what we call inductive reasoning. Okay. So these, you're looking at more general guidelines and you start working your way down to that. And so these are things like, okay, everything has this, and that's going to start leading you to a more generalized area. Okay. And then you start seeing what passes the test. How does it do this? Why does it do it? If it does this, and look at all opposing perspectives. If you start going in with one idea, you're not going to get all sides. Even if you don't agree with the other side, try to look at it from that other side. Okay? So we start to have errors because of the way we approach things. So one of them, stereotypes and generalities. Now, when we think of stereotypes, we always think of humans. Oh, they stereotype that person. But it's not just related to people. It is any type of situation where we automatically make a judge. Oh, I don't like that type of food. Well, you haven't tried necessarily every type or every food item in that type. You might be right, but you're stereotyping it. Okay. And what it is it's judging based on narrow, unverified traits. And so what you need to do is find factual arguments. Okay. So this is what you should do. If you want to be a peak performer, you should try to find counter arguments to try it. Okay. The all or nothing decision. We've all done this. Okay. Everything is either black or white. You either have this or this. Okay. Well, maybe that's not always the case. There could be other alternatives. So try to see if there are. Put one extreme at one end and one at the other. Is there any scenario that falls in between? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but try. Okay. Try is a big word with few letters. Okay. So maybe we can do that. We can try. Okay. Then there's what we call the halo effect and projection. Okay. So it's over relying on a single positive features or assuming others share your emotional state. Okay. This is where people just look at things kind of like rose colored glasses. Everything's beautiful. Everything's wonderful. Everything is one way or the other. And you are expecting everyone to see it your way. That's the halo effect. You will see it my way nor no way. And how you get around that is expect people to actually do this an objective peer review. Okay. Or you ask for blind evaluations of anything. That's where they have no idea who submitted what and you're getting their honest opinions. This is not what we always want because we don't have control then over what people will say. We typically like people to agree with us. And unfortunately, when we give them the option to not agree with this, a lot of times we get our feelings hurt. Unwarranted assumptions. Okay. We often just assume things and we take it and we say that's the truth. So we need to find out observable facts right there. We need to find out the truth. We need to seek the truth instead of just assuming. Okay. We've all heard the phrase, what happens when you assume? Okay. So, what can we do? There's different ways that we can do. We can start using our whole brain. And now that sounds kind of mean when you say that. Use your whole brain. Okay. So, start thinking of different ways to think. We all have phones of different types. Try using some of those different puzzles and games on there that are creative, different ways to think, different puzzle games because they use different parts of your brain and different logical analysis to uh, start to see things from different ways. And you will find different ways to do different things. Okay. Never use one brainstorming window. Okay. So write things down, then put it away, write things down, put it away. You notice it kind of goes along with the same way of learning and remembering things better. Short term think times. Okay. Our brains work better with that. Giving yourself a break. Everything does better with breaks, even when we work. They give you break times. Everything works better with a break. We are like machines. We need an off. Turn it off, let us cool down, regenerate, start us back up. Same thing. So we can connect ideas continuously by doing that. Shut it down, turn it on, collect. Shut it down, turn it on, collect. Okay. Now, acknowledge and reward non traditional approaches. We also call this thinking outside the box. Just throw something out there that's completely off the wall. Why? Because it's going to trick you or make you think of something different, something that may really work because you went at it from a completely different way because of something you threw out there. And that's a great way to do it. Just throw something completely out there or ask someone who has no idea what you're talking about. What do you think about this? Listen to what they say and then go from there. Okay. Now, when you're working with math and science, deconstruct it. Okay. Take that word problem and break it down. We've all done this. We had to do this going way back when we first started word problems. And I know word problem, it's got the word problem right in it. It's a problem. Break it down, okay, until you have an actual math formula. Visual, okay. A lot of us say, I'm a visual learner. Perfect. Draw it out. Whatever you're trying to figure out, start drawing, doodle, scribble, draw curves, list, patterns, anything. Draw out what you're trying to figure out. Draw anything, even if it's not related to the problem, because it's going to make your visual mind work. And then just what I was talking about, this cognitive break, okay? Give yourself unconscious processing because while you're doing something else that you enjoy, that little break, your brain is going round and round and round and round and round. And then when you come back, bingo, you have it. Okay. But beating yourself out doesn't work. Okay. Now, we talk about habits a lot in this class, habits of excellence, and it always follows this routine. The trigger, okay? You're going to recognize that cognitive block, okay? I can't get past this, but you can. So you're recognizing that. So then you're going to start a routine. What do I need to do? I'm going to do diagrams. I'm going to outline. I'm going to be positive. Bam, 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 bam. So that's what you're going to do. And then the reward, less anxiety. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to have improved logic. Okay. And then I'm going to continue critical thinking. I'm going to avoid time wasters. I'm going to protect sleep and physical health. By doing this, you're going to create a habit loop. Boom, just like that. So all through this course, we're learning different habits. And that's what we're striving for. You can grow. You can learn different habits. You can learn thinking habits. And these will help you in this class and as you move forward. So I want you to think about how you'll systematically integrate that five-step writing process and critical logical tools into your daily workflow. How they can help you. I want you to think about that and run with that. All right? That's where we'll go for there. Okay? And that's what the focus is on that. So this critical thinking, it kind of piggybacks on some of the stuff that we learned last week with the memory skills and those test taking strategies and how those join together and some of that. And then if you go back even further, back here with that active reading. So when you're reading and you take those breaks, now you're getting that information. And then you're coming in here and you're learning how to solve things for those test taking skills, but that's also critical problem solving. And then if you're taking that and you're putting those into procedures, that's also creative writing. So take all this information, put it together, and keep developing and keep growing. And get those assignments in on time this week. All right. And keep growing. If you have questions, please reach out to me. If you're going to need extensions this week, reach out to me as well. And we will see you online.